that's a key component and an inbuilt function of
Mm,
capitalism kind of thing. It's crisis prone, contradictory nature, that because it continually seeks something which, nothing is kind of infinite on this planet anyway. Like
mm,
kind of thing. I guess if capitalism expands out into the universe, then fair enough. We've got a whole nother ball game here. But while we're trapped on Earth, capitalism in and of itself is self-defeating. It causes these and it has these ebbs and flows, but it's because it's continually seeking something that is not there right now and it needs to expand forever.
mm.
It will collapse in on itself and it is full of problems.
Yeah.
And that's the interesting thing about the ideology behind capitalism as well, because
Mm,
I don't think people actually understand that capitalism is all about growth and continual growth. They
mm,
just believe in that on these kind of important liberal principles, which were the ideas that you're talking about
mm,
earlier, being liberty, so freedom to
mm.
act in the
Yeah.
market, equality. So when you have a market exchange, you usually talk about things being done in the free market world between
Mm,
equals. So even if you have like a boss and an employee situation, right, which
yeah.
usually you would say they're not equals, but in the market, they come together as equals. So you have the boss, benevolent boss, just trying to get by and make his
Mm,
business work, just lovely dude all round. And you have a worker who comes to them as an equal and says to them, I will, on this contract basis, on, whatever basis it is, sell you my labor time. Basically, I'll work for you for a price. And so that's what there's this free market fantasy out there that's built around this idea of equality because, you know, wage workers have a choice. They come to the
mm.
boss looking for work and they agree to, a cost that suits them because they're just so valuable and like they just are able to walk around and just trade their value like this commodity basically,
Mm.
but on an equal playing field. And like we just
Yes.
know that's just absolute crap, really,
Mm.
because there isn't an equal playing field, and most people don't get to just bargain with their boss and get everything suited to them and have the most perfect conditions and wages and all that sort of stuff. There's just not that
Mm.
type of equality, but fundamentally it is built on that idea of two equals coming together in the
Yes.
marketplace and having an agreement. And that's the equality side of things.
Mm.
And then there's the property side of things, which
Mm.
I was like saying before is the cornerstone, I think,
Yeah.
of capitalism is private property. Yes, private property has existed in terms of, people have had property and stuff like that, and then they've kept it privately, fine. But
Mm.
private property really today in the market economy is about the means of production.
Mm.
So just and with the means of production is like, it's propagandized and it's kind of tarnished that word now. When people hear it, they're like, "Ooh," like, oh, this is some type of weird economic theory, and then they switch off. But like, let's just be honest, it's just whatever contributes to the wealth that is made up in a
Mm.
nation, which people
Yes.
refer to as GDP.
Yeah.
Okay. So anything that contributes to that, I think, is private property, unless it's like some type of government property, which is, I guess you could say collectively owned, but like, really the government is probably one of the largest private property owners in any given society. And they're influenced by corporations anyway, so it all feeds back into the system. But I digress. Private property really is just the things that make all the value in
Yeah.
society. So, like, whether that's a factory, the classic example, or
Yeah.
that's like somebody like you were talking about before, owning a rental property
Mm.
and renting that out to different types of people so they can get that rental income. It could be intellectual property rights or copyright because,
Mm.
someone comes up with this idea and they make it private. But like, if you want to use that copyrighted idea or that intellectual property, you have to pay them. So there's private property is something you invest in that
Mm.
brings you money. And like you have to ask the question, like with intellectual property or even like a factory or like any type of business, like an insurance company, anything like that is built on social infrastructure, so roads and highways, and they use water and electricity, things that have come together and been built and created by all these different people. Do they really
mm,
get to control that, or should they control that privately to benefit off it, when like there's all these people that come together to work for it and have contributed to it
mm.
to make wealth out of that private property, but it's only in the hands of the people that own it. They get to decide what to do with it.